So I want to just talk about the world in terms of all the amazing things that we cannot see. The world is made up of invisible energy. I think so oftentimes we forget this. Like, for example, when we look at the sun, we just feel the warmth, so we see the light, but we forget that there are all these different rays. But we never think about this, right? We just enjoy the sunshine. This is a photograph of mycelial networks, so the mushrooms that grow underneath the ground that act like an internet system of Mother Nature. If you're as old as I am, you remember when we had AM, FM radios where you had the dial in a car and you just had to get like to the perfect frequency to get the radio station you wanted. So there are so many different frequencies moving through space that are attached to numbers. It's kind of interesting, right? And then we have cell phones. You know, if someone probably would have told you that you would carry around a box in your pocket later in life and that, you know, it would send music and poetry and images and videos, and at the click of a button you could send it to someone in Japan in like 2 seconds. Would you have believed that? So if it works with technology, is it such a stretch to believe that Mother Nature's been doing it for a very long time in her 4.5 billion years of age? And that all around us, even though we don't see it, is this botanical, floral, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth network that we're tapping into when we go out into nature. In the UK, they've done studies with bees and found out that they're actually not attracted to flowers based on color or scent like we had thought. There is this dynamic communication occurring with invisible energy that the bees pick up on the little hairs on their legs. And so we may not be able to feel the energy in the little hairs on our legs, but we feel something happening. We feel the benefits of being out in nature. And it's not just the oxygen. They've done studies in Tokyo, Japan with forest bathing that show that spending time in nature reduces your adrenaline, your cortisol, it increases your white blood cell count. So we're boosting our immune systems, we're reducing stress. And the coolest part about Mother Nature is that it's exponential. Meaning, if you spend 1 day out in the wild, you get those elevated health benefits for a week. And if you spend 2 days in the wild, you retain those health benefits for an entire month. It's just so generous, right? Mother Nature is so generous. And then our bodies are also made of invisible energy. I think we just sometimes we get so fixated on the physical part, right? But our bodies have a tremendous amount of invisible energy. And there's one energy that we don't doubt because we know it. In the depths of our being, we know that it exists even though we can't see it, and that's love. You can't see love, you can't see, right? If you could Photoshop, how does a mother look at their child? Maybe it would be like a light around. But we can never see love energy necessarily. We just feel it, we know it's true. We do know that the consciousness that leaves our temporary body when we die has a weight to it, like 0.2 grams or something. That's the weight of the part of us that animates this temporary house. And then you can also see, using Kirlian photography, the kind of energy that's being emitted from our skin all the time. I love this photo because Lisa thought that it was giant clumps of miso on top of garlic toast. It's moxa, so it's burning mugwort on giant slices of ginger on specific acupressure points, right, for a reason. And that's why, one of the reasons why I love and have such an affinity with traditional Chinese medicine is because it's been around for thousands and thousands of years, 3,000 plus years. And it's like the way that system sees the body is this giant map of points, of portals, of doorways into your psyche, into your organs, your physical, everything about you, your past, can all be accessed through these points. It's fascinating. In the world of energy medicine, my flower essence teacher always used to say that the body is actually the screen, and it's our subtle bodies or our energy bodies that are the projector. So if there's some kind of obstruction here, we wouldn't go and try to scrub it off the screen. We'd go back to the projector and remove the fly or the piece of the dust or whatever that is. And so this flesh body is like the screen. The projector is all this energy in the etheric and subtle bodies that carries our emotions and our thoughts and our energy and patterns and all kinds of things that we've accumulated. And when we have a physical imbalance, That's like it goes through all the layers, and then the last ditch effort is the red flag in the physical body. In the world of energy medicine, again, there are all these different patterns that we work with. Some are inherited. My flower essence teacher used to say that we carry 6 to 8 generations back of our family lineage of patterns. So you might think you have a really original thought, or you're having this experience and you feel like it's all your own, but actually it's sort of a repetition of your great-grandmother's thoughts, or something that your great-grandfather felt, right? So we carry these patterns and thoughts in our cellular memory, in our DNA. And then we have acquired patterns, things that we've learned from childhood up until now, the experiences that we've had, or maybe we had an accident, we had some kind of interaction with chemicals, or other kinds of acquired patterns that we carry in our system. And then we have the planetary information, which is like collective consciousness. We know from the last couple of years what happens when a wave of emotion goes through a whole culture or through a whole country or world. We can feel that collective consciousness. Or like tonight, we feel this sense of love, and then whoa, this like wave of love passes through the room. All of these different types of patterns reside within us, and we can work with them. We can turn up the volume or turn down the volume on how they're making us feel. And then in the world of traditional Chinese medicine, each organ system is connected with a particular emotion. And so when that emotion goes out of balance, you may notice impacts on those organs in your body. So the good news in all of that, with all that information going around us, is that Mother Nature energies heal us. And we see in so many cultures all over the world, flowers being used at moments of transition, transformation, even in our own culture, right? It's like romance, weddings, when someone dies, when someone's sick, when a baby is born. That's when flowers make their way into our lives or into our culture. And this has been happening for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And in India, you see many flower rituals. In Central America, there's a practice of spiritual bathing, where you dump flowers over your head for moments of transition. You see in the Himalayas, there's a practice when meditators go off into the caves and do solitary fasting retreats. They eat a substance called chulen, which is the concentrated life force of stones and botanicals. And then you see it in Europe with the alchemists and the doctors. They would recommend to their patients to go out into the wild and look for very specific flowers and drink the dewdrops from the tops of the flowers every morning. You also see that in the Aborigines in Australia. All over the world, you see this practice of drinking dewdrops. This is the original flower essence. There's no scent to it. It's not essential oils. It is the concentrated life force of the flower or the botanical caught in the water. So of these 4 things, what do they all have in common? Shout it out. They record things. So from the magnetic tape and the cassette player, to the CDs, the DVDs, the records, to water, they hold information. It's something like 44,000 pieces of information can be stored in one cluster of water. And maybe you've seen those Emoto experiments when they write like love or hate on the water, and it affects how they form their crystalline structures when you freeze it. These are photographs from this brilliant photographer who removes all the ultraviolet light so you can just see the life force of the flower being emitted. So the bottom is a regular photograph and the top is just the life force coming out of the flower. And then we did a little Photoshop. Like if you could see the aura of a flower, and then you could bottle that aura, and then you would take it. Taylor has a purple aura. And then one thing that they never taught us in science class that I think is so cool is that we have a giant crystal in the middle of our head, in the middle of our brain, that transmits information. And in fact, in all of our blood, in all of our circulatory system, we have a crystalline network. We have crystals moving around in our blood. And what that means is that we are these giant transmitters, right? We know that crystals amplify energy. You can take something as magical as the life force of flowers and introduce it into your system. Your own body is like a giant geode of crystals that amplifies it inside your own system. Isn't that so cool? You can amplify all of those energies within you that you already have. It's your true nature, it belongs to you. But we don't eat at the right times, or we're too stressed, or we're busy, and we have all of those different types of miasms that I talked about before, patterns. And the flowers help us really bring out our true nature. So I'm just gonna show you a couple before and after photos, or a few actually, because it's really hard to understand until you see it on someone's face. This is a client of mine. Just shout out. What do you think he's feeling? Confused, worried, uncertain? Fear, stress? This was his first appointment. So he took flower essences for 3 weeks, and this is him 3 weeks later. Like a totally different person, right? Okay, here's another one. What do you think she's feeling? Tired, exhausted, suspicious, angry. Oh, so many things. Okay, 3 weeks later. So sweet, right? And this woman came in with a laundry list of all these problems and things that were going on that were insurmountable. And then 3 weeks later, she was like, I realized I couldn't control any of it, so I just put it down. This is what flower essences do. This is why I went crazy like 10 years ago and was like, I have to get out of the consultation room and get this to more people because everybody should experience this. This is 6 months before and after. Do you see a difference? She looks younger. Yes, everybody starts looking younger. You can pick out people in the crowd who are working with flower essences because you see it. Also looks younger, right? Like we don't even realize how much of our inner stress we show and display on our faces. So beautiful, right? This is Shay. She worked with us for 1 year. This is when she first started, and 1 year later. This is such a softness, right? And then the last one I'll show you is a 5-year example. So the first 2 photos are when they first started, when Janet first started taking flower essences. Her husband was not on board, not interested. So this is a photo of them, and I know you can't really see like visually super clear, but you can feel the essence, right? This is she and her husband, and they were on vacation. So this is like the best days of their life because they were on vacation. And then this is a picture of she and her son. So this is 5 years later. And that is the same guy. And even though he's not really smiling, he's like super embodied, super engaged. Both of them are super in their bodies and super aware and super themselves, right? So the cool thing we realized over time, for example, this gentleman never took flower essences. He does now, like 15 years later. But at this point in time, he did not. So we started learning what my flower essence teacher taught me, but I had never actually seen it or witnessed it until something like this happened, where if just you take flower essences, the people who are around you in your life, even if they're not taking flower essences, it rubs off on them. This is the power of humanity. So what I can tell you is when I first started studying flower essences, what my flower essence teacher told me was that if we could get 3% of the world's population working with flower remedies, it would create enough of a ripple effect that it would change the outcome of the future. It would spread so much positivity. And that's the reason why I got into it, actually. You know, it all comes back to like, if we want to make a difference in the world, it's right here. That's how we do it. And that's why we're here tonight. It's time for us all to come together and put our hearts together to use that energy for good. Thank you, thank you.